with OTC?
Who's down with OTC? Who is down with OTC? Well, we got another live stream, first in the OTC history. I mean, Jeff did an outstanding one earlier, and I said, hey, that sounds fun. Let's do one. There's so much to talk about, given the fact that this SEC v. Ripple complaint is out, and everybody in the XRP community has been breaking this puppy down. So I said, let's dive in. You know, Jeff and I have been looking at this thing, starting to tear into it. I did a full read through again. I skimmed it, but last night I did a full read through, and I'm going to share some of my findings and some of the things that I think they have a little bit off in this whole thing. But why don't we get started? Let's do it. Let's go.
And now, the XRP Minute with Chip on the Chain.
So here we are. I want to welcome everybody today. Let's go ahead and see who's in here. I believe, let's see, who is here first? Wen Mullet. Man, Wen Mullet owns the #1 space. He was in right at 11:06 when I put this up to go live. And who else do we have in here today? We've got, of course, Jeff, who did an outstanding live stream earlier. Let's see, Wildstar. We got Fred McGillicuddy, Citizen XRP. Let's see, who else is popping in here? All kinds of people are popping in. B. Snowden, WB, Chinese Bamboo. Good to see you in the house. And Ferdy, what's up? Ferdy just sent me something, which is great because somebody in the stream earlier in Jeff's stream had a question about this. Well, we'll jump into it, but Ferdy sent me something, who's XRP twin, as you guys know, but he sent me something which is spot on because I meant to go research it and I didn't have to because Ferdy was having some brain connects here ago. So thank you for that, Ferdy, and we'll jump in a little bit more. Who Let the Bulls Out is in here. Crypto, Links 5. And guys, let me just remind you, Jeff and I do 3 live streams, but because there's so much going on, and this is so topical, we are going to start probably doing more live streams because there's just too much to talk about. I mean, this would be a 5-hour stream, which I don't really want to get into a 5-hour stream. I mean, I would, but I can't talk that long. But 5 hours of breaking it down, we might do smaller segments broken down over time because there's just so much to get into here, so much in the community. Roy, RTV Dutchie's in the house. What's going on? Mama Lacey, good to see you. A long time, Mama Lacey. Good to see you popping in. And I just wanted to get into a little bit of this. Like I said, there's so much going on here. Let's jump into first of all. So if you noticed on the thumbnail, it said SEC v. Ripple. You know what that bird was? That's a phoenix. Do you know what phoenix does? Rises from the ashes. And that's exactly what's going to happen with Ripple. It's going to rise from the ashes and get the much needed clarity. So I said, let's start putting this phoenix on there because that thing is going to rise and rise fast. And that's why I threw that on the thumbnail, because I wanted everybody to start thinking in terms of what does this mean for the crypto industry. Brad Garlinghouse made something a really astute observation. This is not an attack on Ripple. This isn't the SEC going after Ripple. Yeah, they're the ones named in the complaint along with Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse. There's also some other people named in here as well. They're named for the sake of making points, I guess, I'm part of the complaint. And we'll jump in a little bit of that, but we're going to do a teardown on this thing. We'll probably continue to do a teardown different parts, because it's a 71-page complaint. And there's a lot to go on there. We probably could just take 3 pages and start talking about those and on the merits. But I want to jump around a little bit inside of the complaint to sort of give you guys an idea of kind of what's going on. I don't know if anyone's taken the time to read it. There's a lot in there to digest. There's certainly a lot in there to digest, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to start looking through this puppy. And the very first place you want to start when you're going to digest something here is you got to start at the beginning, and that is the docket here. So let's take a look at the docket. Let's put this full screen here. This is the docket. This is what the court case, everything having to do with it, which this is all public disclosure information. I happen to be looking at this on LexisNexis, but let's look at this here. So first of all, you've got the litigants in this column here and the attorneys that appear. They're going to be representing the SEC. You have Dugan William Edward Bliss, Jorge Geraldo Tenero, and you've got Richard Best, attorney to be noticed. Then you've got Ripple Labs here as the defendant. And also named in that is Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. And one of the things here is that you look at this, so this docket is going to be ongoing. As long as this case is open, any kind of supplementals that come out regarding this case are going to be added to the docket. And this is really where you want to, you can either track, and I happen to be looking at LexisNexis, but you can also go to pacer.gov. Anytime you look at, if you have to have an account, anytime you look at something on there, you're going to actually need, you pay for it. So you look at a docket, that's a certain price. You download based on how many pages, that's a certain price. So this right here, LexisNexis, so this docket here, let's look at this. So on the 22nd, first thing we saw right here, let's just zoom in on this if we can. Yeah, let's just zoom in on this. You guys can see what's going on here. The very first thing here is the complaint. This was on 12/22, which we're all familiar with, right? That happened right before Jay Clayton left the building, so to speak, right? And so then there's some other supplemental stuff that came out, and what they do is they name each one of these on here on the docket. So you have document 1, 2, 3, and these may be referenced later. I don't want to get into too much of this stuff. It's a lot of boring stuff. But anyway, let's look at this. So then there's like stuff like a civil cover sheet, which I'll jump into some of these documents. The notice of appearance by Jorge Geraldo Tenero. This is one of the attorneys. And then you've got something that I noticed that I didn't notice right away, because I looked at the docket the other day and I noticed that there was a filing error, deficient pleading, duplicate. What is that? Duplicate docket entry complaint. So what happened? A lot of times, what happens is when they hastily go to post these things up there, and what ends up happening is they miss a couple things. And so I did a compare document, which we'll jump into, and there was a bunch of stuff that was changed, a lot of text which was replaced. And this is the latest one. So this is document number 4, which basically replaces document number 1 up here, right? And then there's another one that's on the 23rd. This is a notice to attorney regarding the party modification from attorney Richard Best. And let's see about Chris Larson and everything. And then the opening initial assignment notice above, entitled action assigned to Judge Analisa Torres. Now what you'll notice on right here is what you'll notice is when you look at court documents, you can always reference the headers on these puppies. So what I'll do is if you look at this here, if you notice this at the very top, this says case number. 20 is always going to be the year. It's 20-10-0832 is it? And if you see the AT after that, they will often put a dash and they will note whoever the judge is in this case, and it's pretty easy to see that we see the judges Analisa Torres, right? So that's why you see the -AT. So that's going to appear on all of the paperwork on the top of the headers. Then you got the magistrate judge here, Sarah Nepern, so designated pursuant to 28 U.S.C. section 636C, and blah, 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 blah. Let's not jump into that. Then there's also just simple stuff, notice of appearance. And these documents here look like this, right? So this is a very simple document, which basically goes on to explain exactly what kind of a case it is and where it's going to be filed, where the jurisdiction is, plaintiff. You can see just check boxes, nothing really. Now this is interesting because this court case was filed in Manhattan, so that's where it is, and that's where the court is going to be looking at this, right? So obviously the SEC is based out of New York. Makes sense to go ahead and have the court case in here. So here's some of the other paperwork that was filed. You got this against Ripple Labs, securities, just blah, blah, blah. And you see there's Jorge Tenero there. And then here's the, this is actually the fourth document right there. You see where it says document 4. This is the replacement document. Now, what I want to do is I want to jump into the, so I did a compare report on this, right? So I looked at the original document that was filed on the 22nd. I looked at the duplicate one. You can see that. So I'm basically just using Adobe Acrobat, breaking down both of the PDFs that I downloaded from the docket from the court case. And if you, I'm reading Ferdy's comment. It says, well, it is clear. Everything I saw here, done deal. Look at there's 141 changes, 31 replacements, 92 insertions, and 18 deletions. Now, I don't think it's really necessarily important to go into it. We're going to go into the complaint itself, but I don't think it makes any sense to get into that. But just kind of give you an idea what that looks like. Let's take a look at this. So what they break it down here is that If we keep jumping through the changes, you can see here some major text was inserted. They changed some other stuff, a graphic element here. So they took the purpose of initiating the civil document, the old text here, and then they combined it with the new text, which is down here. So they did some minor replacements. It doesn't change the substance of the actual complaint, but you can see, like I said, sometimes this stuff is hastily done. You see the old right there and the new, and this is cool because this would take you forever to break this down and like compare, but this will compare them, and you can see sort of an overview up top here. There you go. So yeah, 141 changes, some replacements, some insertions, some deletions. Again, doesn't change the base document itself. Now, what I want to do is I want to jump into, let's start breaking this puppy down. Before we do that though, I want to jump back over here and I want to look at, you notice that Jay Clayton is no longer there. Now we have temporary SEC leadership was set. This is Elad Roisman. He joined the SEC back in 2018, but everything I'm reading about this this gentleman here who has replaced Jay Clayton is really pro crypto, which is really cool. He's pro crypto, and he's the temporary replacement. So we'll jump in a little bit to that. I want to jump in this here too because I found some stuff. So you look at Hester Pierce. We know her as Crypto Mom. I don't know if she really deserves the title of Crypto Mom since there's not a lot of crypto, stuff necessarily going on, right? She's Crypto Mom, but the crypto part of her name hasn't really quite kicked in yet. So if we let's jump back over here, let's take a look. And so she's congratulating Chairman Roisman, looking forward to the leadership of the SEC. She put that out on Christmas Eve, right around in the morning of. And then I wanted to show you some of the people that responded to her tweet. Hey, I wanted to explain to me that the SEC felt for 7 years XRP was a security and was duping investors or misleading them. How the hell does it take 7 years to call a timeout? That's like saying someone is slowly being poisoned and now you decide to investigate. That was fun. That was a fun little comment here. So another comment here from XRP Zero Doubt. Because of Jay Clayton, I lost $150,000 USD overnight, which is most of my life savings. It will take me 4.5 years to get this back if I saved 100% of my salary. I have an 11-month-old baby to feed. Please fix this. XRP is a digital currency. So you can see how people in the community were reacting to this. Next we have Hodler at Original Hodler. Please help discard the spiteful and irrational last-minute lawsuit against Ripple announced by former SEC Chair Jay Clayton the day before he left. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Let me just jump back here. Let's not kid ourselves here. This isn't something that the SEC said, let's see, we're sitting around for 7 years. We're not going to provide any clarity. I know what we'll do. We'll just go after Ripple. This has been in the works for a long time. Inside of the complaint itself, there was some serious discovery going on. They're referencing specific emails. Ripple's known about this for a while. They've been turning over probably stuff. And originally, because they named Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, specifically, Brad notes in his memo to the employees of Ripple that he could have solved. They could have basically settled, but it's much bigger than Larson or Garlinghouse. It's much larger than them. Okay, this is all encompassing, and it really deals with a lot of folks here, right? It's what they're really doing is they're going after the entire altcoin marketplace. Now, if you're on another project out there and you're sitting back going, Ripple suckers, we always knew it was a security. We knew this was going to happen. As Jeff had alluded to earlier today in his earlier stream, which I recommend you go check out as well. It's not really what that's about. If this goes through and they're talking about this, everybody else is going to be basically, scared out of their chairs right now because they have a lot resting. The whole entire marketplace. When I talk about other projects, okay, sure, Bitcoin safe for the time being. You also have safe is Ether, right? Because that was what the SEC came out and Jay Clayton bought roughly 2+ years ago. Said they're not securities. But then again, FinCEN, right? That's the regulatory body that goes after and really pursues people for doing bad things, goes after the bad actors. And what did FinCEN say? Well, they said that it wasn't a security either and said it was a digital asset. So it's going to be a weird sort of contradiction when you have one U.S. body regulation and you have another one, and they're both contradicting each other, and one of them has already professed that it's not, right? And that's the one that generally goes after the bad actors. So let's jump back into this puppy here. Let's see what we got. So I want to jump through a couple of these. Hey, as you're well aware, XRP is not a security, and Clayton's attacks harmful to investors. So these are just people sounding off here. Yeah, I think that was it for that. And I wanted to also jump into, let's see, that's Brad's statement there. Yeah, so Stuart Aderati, he's the general counsel for Ripple. And you guys have probably seen his comments, right? It was out there everywhere, seeing lots of tweets spreading misinformation, legal and otherwise. Here's some facts. First of all, first line of the SEC complaint alleges from at least 2013, years before the DAO report, yet the complaint was not filed for 7 years and the day before the chair leaves office, right? So that's fine. I mean, you can say anything you really want to say about that in 7 years, and they allege from 2013 on, great. There are no fraud or misrepresentation claims. There is one legal question. Did certain of Ripple's distributions of XRP constitute an investment contract? We look forward to litigating that in court and providing the industry the clarity it deserves. Now, I love really Ripple's stance on that. We've heard this from really Brad Garlinghouse. We've heard it from Stuart Aderati, who's general counsel. He's their general attorney there, and we've seen that they're being very aggressive on that. I love the aggressive nature and the response that Ripple is. And I will say this: I'll go on the record as saying this. You know, when we look at this here, let's be straight. Let's be very happy that we've got these two men that are helming, right? We've got Larson, Chris Larson, not his first rodeo. Brad Garlinghouse, not his first rodeo either, right? These are two strong, brilliant men who are not sitting back. Now they could have gone and they could have settled this. Said, let's just settle this with the SEC. No, because they also recognize this is a bigger game. This affects the entire altcoin marketplace. And when you look at it from that point of view, this is like you got hero stuff happening here, right? You got that phoenix rising from the ashes. Why? Because let's lay it all out. They're like, you want to bring it? Bring it. Come at me, and come at me, bro, is kind of what they're saying to the SEC. And there are so many things. When I started going through this last night, it took me a long time because I had to read and reread, and I was just kind of chuckling to myself that some of the brilliant attorneys that put this together, we still have people that do not understand the digital asset space. We still have people who, and it's new, okay, it's new, I'll give you that, 11 years in the making, but they still are missing some such key things. Now, jump back over here to Aderati's last tweet. He said, as always, the SEC cherry-picked and truncated the facts, quotes, etc. For example, there's no mention that throughout 2018, Ripple's XRP sales represented only 0.095% to 0.43% of global XRP volume, and in Q1 2019, those sales amounted to 0.22% of the overall trading volume. And you know, when Aderati coming out with this, I think it's interesting and also somewhat telling because he's addressing some of their allegations inside the complaint itself. So let's jump back over to, let me see where I want to go with this thing. Okay, so one of the questions that came up earlier today, and this came up in Jeff's stream. It was actually someone asked me in the stream. They said, "Hey, by the way, what is the statute of limitations in an SEC sort of enforcement proceeding?" And that wasn't exactly what the question was, but it was, what about the statute of limitations? You know, what is the statute of limitations? Every jurisdiction, every country, every law has a statute of limitations. You can't go back and sue a company, Coca-Cola, because they put cocaine in a little bit of cocaine inside of Coca-Cola back in the whatever that was, the late 1800s, right? You can't go back. The statute of limitations, like stuff like that, will run out. And so in this sort of a reason here, this is really timely. And I want to thank XRP Twin, Ferdy, who's also in the chat for pointing this out. This was great because it was on my list of things to do. I didn't get to it. He had sent this to me. And I want to show, so back in 2013, This is February 28, 2013. In Gabelli versus the Securities and Exchange Commission, number 11-1274, U.S. Supreme Court classified that the 5-year statute of limitations applicable to SEC enforcement actions that seek financial penalties begin to accrue when the alleged violation occurs, not when the SEC discovers the violation. This decision may have implications not only for SEC enforcement actions, but also for other government proceedings seeking a civil penalty or forfeiture. So in this case itself, they do go back and they do talk about the fact that there are, that goes back to 2013. And, you've seen some of the outcry from the community and what is this all about? So the SEC, the statutory background is the SEC enforcement actions are subject to a 5-year statute of limitations, which provides that an action or suit preceding the enforcement of any civil fine, penalty, or forfeiture, pecuniary or otherwise, shall not be entertained unless commenced within 5 years of the date when the claim first accrued. Okay, so they talk about the Gabelli case, and we still talk here about the Howie test. Now, one of the things that kind of surprised me a little bit when I'm looking through the complaint, that obviously the Howie test, which goes back to 1946. Funny enough, it happened in Florida, but there was an orange grove. There was a gentleman by the name of Howie. That's why we got the name of Howie Test. But he was basically selling parcels of land, and the way he was selling it was, well, by the way, I could sell you the parcel of land in this orange grove because he was expanding operation, using this money to sort of like assist with the expansion of his orange grove. And guess what? You don't have to do anything. And guess what else? I will take it to market. You don't even have to see. You don't even know where this orange grove is located. But your parcel, all of the oranges will be harvested. They'll be taken to market, and you will reap a profit from that. Okay, so the Howie test became known as the first time where the SEC got involved. And they looked at this and they said, well, what you should have done is register that as a security, because you were making a claim that there would be somebody could profit off of, there would be some sort of a future profit off of this, and that's what the security is deemed. And in this case, that's where the Howie test, became, sort of this very simple, easy to understand. Now, I believe it was Moon Lambert had brought it up in Jeff's stream earlier. Is like, I'm pretty sure that the Howie test didn't have any future idea of what would come to pass with digital assets, right? So, and this is kind of the problem. We look at government, what do we see time and time again? Slow walking, takes forever. It's almost by design. But what we've seen is the world has surpassed the U.S. The world is in motion. You've got Great Britain. You've got regulations in Great Britain. We have regulations also sitting over there in Europe. We've got Japan. We've got Australia, right? So everyone is just far, far, far advanced. And what is the SEC doing? They're litigating. Why are they litigating? Why aren't they spending their time creating some guidance and creating some regulatory clarity, right? Now, rightfully so. If you know, Garlinghouse and Larson have been very outspoken with going forward and I think they took a full-page ad in the New York Times talking about the regulatory clarity. So they were hammering the SEC. They were at least, I would say, from an outside standpoint, looking for the clarity, wanting it to happen. We've been hearing about, the SEC potentially deeming XRP a security time and time again. We've heard this argument. So it was almost at some point going to happen, right? They're not going to provide clarity. They're not going to do anything along those lines. Then what are they going to do? They're going to go ahead and file this lawsuit. Now, even though the lawsuit came out, Ripple had advance notice of this because Garlinghouse, he talks about that in his memo as well, that he could have settled out of court. So it took 30 days before they made it public. So Ripple knew this was going public, and they also probably knew about this well beforehand as well, that it was actually in the works. This wasn't written in a month, 2 months, 3 months. This has been in the works for some time. There's a lot of compilation. It's 71 pages. I know there's multiple attorneys working on it, but it probably has been in the works for some time at least, right? And let's jump back into the complaint itself here. Let me jump and show the screen again. Here we go. Let's see. Is this? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's jump back in here. I'm going to go ahead and pop this up. Man, that's pretty small. Let's do this here. There we go. So here we go. This is the Securities and Exchange Commission against Ripple Labs, Bradley Garlinghouse, Christian Larson. Now, blah, blah, blah. So this is exactly what Stuart Adirati is talking about. He's saying from at least 2013 to the present, defendants sold over 14 billion units of a digital asset security. You see what they're calling it? A security, right? Called XRP in return for cash or other considerations worth over $1.38 billion to fund Ripple's operations and enrich Larson and Garlinghouse. Even the tone of this thing is incredible, right? To enrich. They were the ones that were going to be mostly responsible for this. I mean, it's got a very dark tone right off the standpoint. First paragraph, right? And as we look into this, because Ripple never filed the registration statement, it never provided investors the material information that every year hundreds of other issuers include in such statements when soliciting public investment. So one of the things that they conflate here is they look at the SEC kind of really makes an error in judgment where they are looking at Ripple as raising money. They're trying to say that they funded their operations, much like in the Howie Test, we had the Orange Grove owner where they say, well, you were expanding your Orange Grove by taking money up front with the future potential profits, right? That there was going to be some sort of an investment contract there. Then you have Ripple engaged in, so I highlighted some sections, and again, it's 71 pages. We're not going to get into all of it, but I want to just make some key distinctions here. Now, one of the things, and we'll go a little bit more into it, but Ripple engaged in this legal securities offering from 2013 to the present, even though Ripple received legal advice as early as 2012 that under certain circumstances, XRP could be considered an investment contract and therefore a security under the federal security law, right? So what they're alleging here is that Ripple and Larson, and also later once Brad Garlinghouse joined, but they're, in this particular time, early days, they're talking about Ripple and Larson ignored this advice and instead elected to assume the risk of initiating a large-scale distribution of XRP without registration. Now, you know that Ripple early days has certainly gone out there and made every sort of attempt to work with regulators. As a matter of fact, they're probably one of the few digital asset companies that really went beyond to make an effort, because they did receive a fine in early days, 2013, 2014. But again, they've always been working with regulators. They've always been extremely transparent. And if we look at this, I want to jump around a little bit, and then I kind of want to go where one of the key points they're missing here. By engaging in the conduct set forth in the complaint, defendants engaged in and are currently engaging in the unlawful offer and sale of securities in violation. Of course, they cite all the codes of the Security Act of 1933. First of all, that's embarrassing for the United States as a country, that we're going back to 1933. And again, this is right in line with how government works, slow. Time marches on, and unfortunately, there has been, Jeff got into this a little bit earlier today. I mean, there's been bills in Congress. We've had some Congress people stepping up we had representatives that wanted to make something happen. I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened, right? It certainly has. So, and they're saying that Garlinghouse, they also aided and abetted Ripple's violations of those provisions. So this is the nature. I'm not going to get into the jurisdiction, blah, 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 blah. So venue is proper in the Southern District of New York pursuant to Section 22A of the Securities Act. So that's where it's filed. It's in Manhattan. We already took a look at that document. And so they list the defendants here. Now, what's interesting is that they don't name certain defendants, although I just off the tip of my head knew who some of the defendants are. And I didn't go through them all, but obviously Ripple. They go back to OpenCoin, Garlinghouse, age 49. We got Larson, age 60. They talk about the related entities, which is XRP2 LLC, XRP2. This is the name of the fund, the LLC. It's registered as a money service business with the U.S. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, otherwise known as FinCEN, which obviously they've come out and said it's not. It's a digital asset. It's not it's a currency. It's not a security. And as a virtual currency business with the New York State Department of Financial Services. So you see right there, they're already showing that, yeah, they've gone through and they have gone and registered. Now, here's what's interesting. So you've got co-founder, age 45, California I just made a note. That's Jed McCaleb, right? 45. He received 9 billion XRP shortly after Ripple's founding. Excuse me, drink a little water here. And then, so the reason that they're laying these out early here is these will be referenced later in the complaint. So, and again, they're not naming names. They're just basically drawing the attention to what happened to go ahead. Teardown, what's up? Just walked in there. Phoenix Starborn, good to see you. Bro XRP. And so right here, you got Cryptographer 1, age 51. Gee, who could that be? That's David Schwartz. We got Ripple Agent 1, age 55. So these are all the people that they talk about. Served as Ripple's chief cryptographer. So these names are going to come up, and this is where we would go back and reference them later in the complaint. We got Ripple Agent, age 42. Ripple's head of XRP markets. That is none other than Miguel Villas, right? Who resigned after April 20th. Then you've got Ripple Agent 3. Who is age 36, California registrant. He served as the executive VP in business development from February 2013 to 2015, and then the senior vice president. So that one, the name escapes me there. Maybe you guys can throw that in the chat, which I would definitely see there. But so they talk about the statutory and legal framework here. They talk about, Congress enacted the Securities Act to regulate blah blah blah. Okay, there's a lot of this. Precursor stuff that they go ahead and they set everything up. It's a court case. It's a complaint. They're basically trying to lay out everything in a complaint. Good morning, Tina Hall. Good to see you. Stephen Kurt. Good to see you. We'll get into some questions a little bit later. I want to take some questions on this stuff. Let's workshop this together. And that's what I love about doing these live streams. We're doing a little mini workshop on this, and this is a big one. There's a lot going on here. So again, this is a lot of precursor stuff here. And then they talk about the background on digital assets, the term digital asset, blah, blah, blah. And even some of this stuff is kind of funny, that they have to go ahead and cite this in the complaint to go ahead and really kind of draft everything else that comes after that. And so this is funny. They call this facts. Huh. Interesting, right? They call this area facts. So the creation of XRP, Larson and co-founder established Ripple. So in 2011 or early as 2012, co-founder began working on the idea and code which would become the XRP ledger, otherwise known as the Ripple protocol. So they describe the XRP ledger software code. It operates on a peer-to-peer database spread across a network of computers that records data respecting transactions, among other things. Yeah, okay, that's kind of what it does. But again, they're bringing in the XRP ledger here, which I'm not sure what kind of bearing that really has there. Let's jump down here. Now, again, they're going through 2012, 2013. This is what happened. This is. And if you see right here, they start getting into it with some of the other people. So co-founder Larson and Ripple Agent 1 then transferred 80 billion XRP to Ripple, the remaining 20 billion XRP to themselves. 9 billion XRP to each co-founder, and Larson and 2 billion XRP to Ripple Agent 1 as compensation for Ripple's founders. After this transfer, the founders controlled 100% of XRP. 100% of XRP was controlled by, this is what they're alleging right here, right? 100%. So they get through it. So I'm just going to hit some of the highlighted sections. Ripple could do little with its billions of XRP at the time. However, and Ripple had limited funds to pursue any operations it may have sought to undertake. Ripple determined to create a market for and sell XRP to the public to monetize its holdings and finance its operations. So I take a little liberty right here with this, and I'll jump into exactly why I think they're completely off base here, because they apparently they don't have Google on their computers, and they can do a simple Google search, right? If you look at this from a standpoint, they talk about the fact that they specifically sold XRP to fund an operation. Again, they're going back and they're saying, okay, let's go back to the Howie Test to see if this is indeed XRP is a security. What they're alleging here is that Ripple sold XRP to fund its operation. It can be further from the truth, because apparently they didn't do any Google searches, and I'll jump into how that actually was funded on what Ripple actually did. This isn't even on target here. Oh, look at this. Ripple's lawyers warned Ripple and Larson that XRP could be a security. Oh no. So they're going back to this time and saying they warned them. We warned you. You were warned. You were forewarned that this could be a security. Well, this has been going on. Is it a security? Is it not a security? What about Bitcoin? What about XLM? What about Jed McCaleb, who went off and founded and basically forked in, basically XLM is the same thing, right? So he went off there and they did that. So how did he fund his operations? Was any XLM sold? So you can see where this has deeper ramifications moving forward. And if we jump back on over here, it says they were warned. Okay, but warned or advised that, yeah, in certain instances it could be. So the law firm provided basically 2 memos. So they're going back to one on February 8th, 2012, and another one on October 19, 2012. So how did they do that? How did they actually cite these memos? Where did the SEC, how is the SEC aware that this actually happened? Discovery, right? They go ahead and it was all provided to them. They didn't go back. They weren't sitting there hacking Ripple's emails. No, they went back and they were looking and sifting through everything, and they basically found where this was advised. So that's exactly how this sort of happens. So they said that these memos were addressed at the co-founder and another individual, and the second to Larson, the co-founder in Ripple. So this is what they're saying. These legal memos warn that there was some risk that XRP could be considered an investment contract. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, hey, by the way, we could all be rich by February 1st, 2021. Yeah, we could. Am I warning you? Am I giving you, putting something out there? Could, shoulda, woulda is my favorite thing. We all coulda, shoulda, woulda. We coulda, we shoulda, and we would have basically purchased BTC back in the day when it was just pennies, right? So warning, strong language is, hey, this is definitely a security. Here's why we think so. No. It's nothing like that, whatsoever. This is a very, very different thing that they're sort of looking at here. And I wanted to jump over and let's do a little dissecting on how actually did Ripple fund their operations. SEC, did they go out there and did they go ahead and fund it with sale of XRP? No, they didn't. So let's find out how they did do it. So this is Crunchbase. Crunchbase, basically, you can look up a little about companies. Back in the day when they first started, everything was free on here. Now they only give limited information on here, but if you look at this right here, let's just look at this one area right here. So they've had one acquisition. There was an exit of some kind, right? 36 team members, 15. Now this isn't always up to date. This is, this goes back probably to the last funding rounds. But look, there was 15 rounds here, a total investment of $293 million. Okay, Ripple is a private company, yet they have stockholders in the company itself, like people that own a percentage. And who do we know it has is one of the largest investors? You may know that individual from SBI. See if anyone knows it in the chat here, right? Oh, I think 9%, and I think that's also, we'll get into that as well. So number of investors, 36 in total. So what they're alleging is that Ripple basically funded their whole entire operation, right? They didn't know what to do with XRP, because one of the things that they allege in there is they say, well, they didn't know what they were going to do with XRP. They just said, hey, to investors, because they reference in that complaint an early document, an investment document saying that we don't really know what XRP is, but this is what we think we're going to do, and we're going to find use cases, and we don't know right now. Again, a little bit light there, but let's jump back and take a look at this document. So you look at this, you look at the financials over here. Okay, again, it jumps into the funding rounds right here. So, so you can't look at the show more because I wanted to dive back in time, but again, this is a paid service, which I would use all of maybe once or almost never, right? The number of investments that they have here, I don't need to say it. So again, the current team members at the time, there was 36, and that's obviously not up to date. But the bottom line here is no thanks. I don't want to save it, but thank you very much. And right here, we talk about their website and blah, 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 news built with it. But the key thing here, and they used to let you drill down on this, but there were 13 funding rounds right there. So there's their Series C, there's their Series A, 200,000. It starts going into, and again, we can't look back that, but you look at a seed round right here for Ripple. There are 4 investors. You had Pantera Capital, you had IDG Capital, GV, right? So you look back in the day, and what the SEC is alleging is that they're going out there and they're saying that, hey, by the way, they sold all this XRP and that's how they funded. No, that's not exactly how it happened. Camp One Ventures is another one, a very early, recent investor, right? So this is like their seed round when they're just getting going. That's the money usually on the seed side of it where you're just getting started. Here's another seed round here. So the first one was funded for 1.4 million. Then you had a 3.5 million seed round here. And funny thing is, apparently the SEC doesn't have this ability to do a simple Google search on Ripple, who funded the company. Now you go to Series A. So past the seed rounds, you get a Series A. And let me look at the scroll out of this. Look at the date. That happened in 2015. You had your first Series A. That was, you had 12 investors in that. That was $28 million. Then you had another one. That's IDG Capital. You had Moral Capital with $4 million. Look, you don't have to go through this whole thing. The bottom line here is that this company named Ripple did not use really XRP as it's alleged in the SEC complaint to fund their operations, right? Now, one of the things they do get into, and I can't see a little sticky area, and I probably will see that, again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just somebody like you going through this document and sharing my opinion. Not a financial guy. I'm not an attorney, but I spend an awful lot of time looking at not only complaints, but in a different sort of an industry, but I spend a lot of time looking at contracts, looking at court cases, and looking at complaints. So you kind of start seeing sort of a pattern emerge, so to speak, where their basis for their complaint is. And going back to Stuart Adirati, he's basically going back and saying, hey, if we're able to look at the basis of what this is, just from the standpoint in the first paragraph, boom, off base. That's where it goes off the rails, right then and there, right? So wanted to jump in and look at, let's see, what else do we have here? So I also think it's important to note as well as we had Brad Garlinghouse here. He says, so he basically looked at Stuart Adirati's. He said, hey, a very important reminder. Thus far, the world has heard the SEC's version of reality. The legal process will unfold from here, and the world will have much more robust and complete picture of the facts soon. And in my opinion, the facts are on Ripple's side. I mean, they are itching to try to get this thing and go back to this. They cannot wait. They're just like, let me at him. And they really want to go ahead and tear this puppy apart. They want to jump into it. They want to, looking for this other thing here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Let's look at this one here. I want to jump in this one too. I think there's some interesting points raised on this as well. So here we have Arturo Portilla here. You guys all know him. He's not. Let's see, what is he? Yeah, he's a Mexican tax and fintech attorney, and so he writes in here, and let's do this right there. There we go. So he said, hey, I just finished reading the SEC versus Ripple complaint. Hey, most of the allegations regarding XRP being a security are built around the false idea that investors bought an asset that had no use beyond speculative purposes. And again, we talked a little bit about that, that they say, Ripple didn't know what to do with this thing. They had no clue, right? It was just very speculative. Nobody knew. This is exactly where their whole case cracks up. Ripple has to properly document and demonstrate all the uses made available by XRPL from the beginning of times, right? So what's alleged in this complaint is they get into the whole idea that they didn't have any use cases. They didn't know what they were going to do. They just felt like it was a cool idea to create, which was OpenCoin, which is now XRP. Let's just create this and let's give it to ourselves. Let's sell it to ourselves. Let's make a lot of money, right? And we'll figure it out later. Yeah. So what Arturo Portilla is saying here is that it makes a lot more sense if they go back to the beginning and start talking about the use cases from day one. They didn't go into this blindly. They certainly knew that, of course, there's a lot of ideas that they shared early days, but they kind of knew where they were going with this. And again, Brad Garlinghouse has been very public. They didn't come out and say, you know what, XRP will be utilized. Ripple is the centralized company that makes the software, and then we're going to have over here, we're going to have this that's going to utilize XRP. And we're going to use it for cross-border, moving money cross-border. Okay, that's one use case. There's going to be more. And what other use cases have we seen so far? Well, there's something called Flare and the Spark token, right? There's going to be a lot more use cases for XRP. XRP also, you look at Coil. What is Coil doing? Well, Coil's doing micropayments paid out in XRP, but it can be paid out in other things as well. So we're seeing there are more than enough type of use cases here. So he says immediate and cheap peer-to-peer transfers. Everyone could be its own ODL since XRPL was first launched. which is ODLs, on-demand liquidity. Every XRP investor has had access to fully functional, decentralized exchange since the very beginning, being able to use XRP to trade against a variety of IOUs, and that's what basically how the ledger functions. XRP has been a very successful or a very useful instrument for payments since it came into existence. Why? Because 3 to 4 seconds, right? It was, if you can almost look at it as XRP as Bitcoin 2.0. Why? Because you look at Bitcoin came out slow, clunky. I don't believe it was ever finished, right? The last known comment by Satoshi said, "I'll be right back. We got more work to do," or something like that, and then disappeared, right? So I don't believe Bitcoin was ever finished. I don't believe it is today what it was intended to be. And again, they were looking at just a decentralized asset, but they realized some of the shortcomings early days, right? And that's exactly what David Schwartz has basically come out and said. They knew. You had a lot of people voice their opinion early days. So XRP has been a very useful instrument for payments since it came into existence. It's important to note that. Also, XRP investors have been able to employ wealth management strategies through the utilization of diverse XRPL features, such as escrows, right? Later on, other non-Ripple dependent uses were brought upon by other companies such as Coil, which I mentioned, amongst many others. So it kind of like really puts that argument to the side, because they're alleging that they didn't know what they were going to do, and when all Ripple has to show is early days, and it goes back to Stuart Adirati when he said they're cherry picking stuff. Well, what about the fact that Ripple went out and pitched investors, did seed rounds and Series A and Series B? Oh no, we're not going to talk about that. No, we're not going to get into that. Additional uses appeared through the years, including the ability to loan and or stake XRP and obtain yields, including the possibility to borrow XRP, as well as the ability to make online payments through payment aggregators. So the truth is that since the creation of XRP, every XRP holder has had the immediate possibility to use the asset for a variety of things. In fact, speculation is something that came to XRP after the asset was already useful for many other purposes. And I think this is really key here, is that it really shoots down the whole alleged idea that Ripple created this currency to fund operations, when a lot of that, we've already just picked apart 2 of those, right? And the fact of the matter is that it's not going to take a lot for Ripple to go back and show them that no, there were all these things on the table. So again, kind of an odd place to sort of foundationally have your complaint around. The other part is that the whole idea of it being a security is they used it to, in using it to fund their operations. They also allege that as a retail investor, that you thought you were buying a part of Ripple. And again, this goes back. I mean, we almost have to laugh at this a little bit, because this goes back to the point of we've been in the space for a little bit, or even if you're new to the space, a lot of people, again, they interchange Ripple for XRP, and they go like, oh, what about that Ripple coin? No, Ripple is the centralized company that makes software, right? I mean, this is what the banks use, right? And it's had a couple of names over the years. And again, one of the other things that the SEC alleges in there is the fact that the early days, that the 2 of the biggest products that they had, and it's in here. Let me see if I can jump to that point really quick. But one of the things that they talk about in there is they get to the point of where, and again, it's so vast, but I'll just sort of do it by memory. But they say that you thought that maybe you were buying a stock in Ripple. No, and they're sort of doing the same thing, that everyone makes the mistake. Especially some of the BTC maxis. They're the ones that are always kind of making this mistake, right? So I wanted to go back here. I want to see if you guys had any comments here, anything we might be able to throw up here to see if, take a little bit of a break here, kind of jump in a little bit, see where we're at, and then we'll kind of start going back and really, tearing down this whole argument that they're alleging right here. All right, so Ferdy basically says here, hey, according to the block, SBI owned a crypto market maker, B2C2 group that has halted XRP trading with U.S. counterparties. So that's what the block is saying, that SBI owned crypto market maker. So that's interesting to see that. What else do we have here? Let's go decentralized. Okay, so this is, so Stephen Kurtz says, hey, I believe the only thing that the lawsuit will bring is final clarity, which everyone's been waiting for. So bring it on. By the way, why isn't Stellar included? Basically, it's the same damn situation. And Stephen, you're kind of right here. We did say that a little bit, but what they're really specifically looking for in this complaint is they want to go back and say, did Jed McCaleb, did he actually go and fund his operation? How did he fund his operation? Well, we know he sold off a lot of XRP, right? And he continues to do so. But what Stellar's set up a little bit different. Stellar is does not set up as a company. Stellar's a foundation. It's a little bit. It's always been decentralized, And again, one of the things, probably early days, and we can only speculate on this just from stuff we've read. But one of the big sort of, I guess, conflicts that Jed had with, the other Ripple founders, co-founders, is the whole idea of what XRP would be used for, right? So you had Jed was a little more on the retail side, retail investors, being used in other sort of things, which, again, XRP is going to do that at some point. But again, they're very, and this goes on in early days, and this could be used to sort of illustrate that as well. But Jed was looking specifically, they had a conflict. There was something they didn't agree upon, especially that you looked at Ripple looking at the banks, right? They said, hey, we're not Bitcoin. We're not gonna, the banks aren't going away. They're not going away. Regulators are not going away. Let's work with regulators. Let's work with financial institutions and banks, and let's talk about how we can go ahead and make software that can do this. And what I was getting back to was the SEC said, well, two of the first products you launched, and again, the names escape me because they've changed the name so many damn times, but neither one of those used XRP, right? So they were, and what they're missing here is the fact that they were going after Swift, and again, Swift is a messaging system. It's like it's probably less information than an email has. It's like, almost like an IOU, and it's sent to the target bank where the money is going to be sent. And by the time that's why it takes 3 to 5 days, right? Because it's not happening in any kind of real time. But the SEC is alleging that Ripple did not even use this digital asset in their first two products. But again, those products have evolved over time, and it was always their intent to, and this is where I find this to be somewhat of an ironic situation. The reason that a lot of banks didn't choose to go in is because they do not want to be on the line for potentially using a security because there's no regulatory clarity. It was always Ripple's intention from day one we all know the fastest way to get something from point A to point B is XRP, right? Being able to use it through the XRP ledger, and the fact that you can do it pretty fast. And the big stumbling block all along has been the fact there's no regulatory clarity. So on one hand, you have the Ripple trying to attract customers, yet not like we've heard about Bank of America forever, but they get fined enough. They're in deep water enough. You got to imagine, how is this affecting Ripple's business today, where they're going, oh, now it's a security. How is it going to affect the onboarding? So by the SEC filing this complaint, you have a lot at risk here, right? The SEC goes out there, files this complaint, and what happens? We had the one tweet where the guy lost his life savings, right? We always say that, look, never invest more than you're willing to lose. It's kind of like if you go into a casino, yeah, I mean, you could be using your credit card, yeah, and you could be pulling out money you don't have. But the point of it is hey, if I walk into a casino and I blow $100, okay, I blew $100. I knew that I probably would walk out without having it. And when you're dealing with speculative or risk-based things, it's a very interesting on the level of, say with stocks. It's speculative. Nobody knows, no guarantee. No one's saying, hey, if you buy this, it's going to do this. Well, we hope. We can think about it. But again, so GDLT says, hey, Stellar changed its protocol several times. It burned supply, changed from an inflationary to a deflationary, etc. Ripple XRP has been more consistent with its plans and goals, and I agree with that. They certainly have been. It's interesting about that burn too, because if you burn something that has a value, I know that in court cases where there's certain things that even on a bankruptcy scenario that are dischargeable, other things that are not dischargeable, right? So if you go ahead and sell a house and you have a financial gain inside there, or if you have some sort of, there's all kinds of laws around this. So when you burn something that has value, you just basically flush that, right? Had a value. So that's going to be interesting to note as well. It's a good point, G. And hey, Lady E, what's up? Let's all learn together, support each other, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for that, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Click that notification bell. Also, we have another channel which we're going to get busy on posting videos again. Jeff and I have just been super busy with a lot of work and other things going on. But you can also sub to that other channel. Thank you very much for doing that as well. Stephen Kurt, again, Jay Clayton did us a favor. The lawsuit's going to finally bring up the issues that need to be addressed. Clarity. Agree 100%. This is a gift. A lot of people out there have mischaracterized this. The fastest way to get to clarity, let the SEC come at you and say it's a security. And Ripple is very, very sure. Its leadership is sure, and is assured. So what I like about this whole thing is I love the fact that you got Larson and you got Garlinghouse. They didn't back down. They didn't say, "Oh yeah, we can settle. It's we don't want we don't any trouble here." No, that's not what they did. They're like, "No way, go ahead, go public with it, and then let's bring it on." So they can't wait to jump in there. Phoenix Starborn says, unless new SEC new management throw this suit out, it's going to take many moons for it to be sorted. In his opinion, I'm not so sure about that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure about that. I do think that we have some other regulatory clarity that's coming, was promised by the OCC off of the comptroller. It's coming, so there's going to be other things that are going to have some sort of overlap. Now, most of the time, this could take years, right? You're going, oh God, this is the SEC in years, but you could get a hearing date, or you could this could happen a lot quicker than most people even think. Edelbree says, David Schwartz said that the ledger was at least 8 years in front of being hacked from any quantum system. So that's the other thing we're going to look at. So quantum computing, which could be interesting, especially if we're going to have to keep that away from AI, because all of a sudden we've got 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Dave has locked us out of our homes and our spaceship and planet Earth, right? So we got to be very careful with how that is. And so basically the other thing is that quantum computing, a quantum computer can hack Bitcoin in 2022. Who knows? Even possibly even sooner. What's up, Apex Crypto? Good to see you, man. All right, so does the delisting, so Warren Buffett, I love it. Warren Buffett says, hey, does delisting XRP increase the chances of a flip the switch scenario? Well, it depends on what that flip the switch scenario looks like. I mean, certainly by delisting it, now we've already heard from BitTrue. BitTrue, I do believe, made the right call. Now, even though the CEO, Curtis Wang, is based out of San Francisco, the exchange itself is not a U.S. based exchange. And one of the things they came out and said, because you got to look at AML, KY, know your customer, KYC, AML, anti-money laundering, right? They're going to stop processing payments from anybody in the U.S. So you're not going to be able to use BitTrue to go ahead and buy XRP. Why? Because you're using they don't want to get involved. It's a good decision, probably the easiest thing to do, because then all of a sudden they get yanked into something they don't really need, right? You cannot do ODL without a security chip. That's what Ferdy's saying here. You can't do ODL without a security chip. Yeah. So there has to be something here. And if you guys have any other things you want to address, I'll go ahead and throw them up on the screen, as we get into this. Okay, let's jump back in real quick here, guys. Let's go. Okay, so let's look at it. So starting in 20, now we're up to 67. Again, if you look at this thing, we are on page, what page are we on? I don't know what page we're on right now. Usually it tells me what page we're on, but I don't know what page we're on. We'll see it down at the bottom here. Page 12. Page 12 is 71 pages. Like I said, we're not going to get into this today. It's certainly coming. So, but they say in 2015, Ripple decided it would seek to make XRP a universal digital asset for banks and other financial institutions. So, do we believe that this actually happened in 2015? This is when they decided? Yeah, I guess they're just hanging out for a couple of years. They just decided on a whim in 20. So, in other words, Ripple's stated business plan made Ripple's conduct alleged here a foregone conclusion. Ripple made it part of its strategy to sell XRP to many speculative investors as possible. Not exactly. And this is what Stuart Adirati is talking about too, where the speculative investors, they wanted to get it out there as quick and fast as they could. Ripple also lacked the funds to pay for these endeavors for its general corporate business expenses, which for 2013 and 2014 already exceeded 25 million without selling XRP. So what they're saying here is that if you look at the seed money in 2013, 2014, and if I go back to that screen, they're saying that the actual funds for that Ripple was operating out of wouldn't have been enough on the investment side, so they relied heavily on the sale of XRP, which is what they're alleging here, because it already exceeded 25 million without selling the XRP. And then here we've got the purchasers in the open market sales. So what they're going after Chris Larsen here, saying he's the one who orchestrated the initial stage of Ripple's offering of XRP, because he was the one that actually approved the timing and the amount of offers and the sales. And number one, the purchasers in the open market, which are the market sales. Two, the investment funds. These are wealthy individuals or other sophisticated investors. These are your institutional. And then number three, others enlisted to assist Ripple's efforts to develop XRP market, which are the other XRP distributions. 2017, the defense also began accelerating Ripple's sales of XRP while Ripple's expenses continue to increase. So what they're attempting to allege here is the fact that they're saying, you know what, Ripple was this fledgling organization, and they probably would have made it if they hadn't sold their XRP. But again, selling XRP that really stretches the whole idea of the Howie test, and the fact that if they're selling XRP, when you start getting into digital assets, you have something where you have a centralized organization selling a decentralized asset. One of the things that's very different than the Howie test, when you're selling something, Ripple does not control the price of XRP. There's a marketplace for that, right? They're not the ones that control that. Very different from an organization, going back to the Howie test, where you have an orange grove and Mr. Howie is selling these plots of land that they're going to then go ahead and take the oranges to market, and there's going to be some future consideration. So again, the problem with going back to 1946 and the Howie test is this whole idea of a simplistic sort of thing, and now they're stretching it all over. Now we're talking about digital asset sales. Now we're talking about funding a company, that they're alleging that they're funding the company here, which is also a big tough stretch here. And we have here, this is a very good observation right here. So when Mullet says, JP Morgan's paid billions in fines over the years, but keeps doing the same thing. So again, once you have established guidelines, now if you just would Google Wells Fargo, it's the largest bank in the United States. They've been around. They still have that stagecoach, with the horses pulling the stagecoach, because they go back to the I think maybe early 1800s. They've been around for a couple hundred years, right? And look at their fines, look at the money laundering, look at all the stuff that they get in trouble for. But again, they say, like, this is the clarity, and if you don't do this, then you get this. So what do I think is going to happen with this whole thing? There's going to be fines assessed here, right? But what's at stake here is the fact that you're going to have a company, a $10 billion company based in San Francisco in the United States, who has already threatened to leave, right? And innovation's been stifled, right? You've had Circle, you've had, Jeremy Allaire, he's moved out. People are leaving the United States, and they're not even setting up shop here anymore. What's the point? So you can get punched in the face? I mean, even if you look at Celsius, and Alex Mashinsky, day one he was talking to regulators, right? So they created a coin too. Guess what? You can't buy it in the U.S., right? They don't sell it in the U.S. And again, what could end up happening, you start delisting all this stuff. You start delisting XRP, or nobody has it. Well, it's not going to become very hard to get, right? It's going to be very hard to get. And what's going to happen with the actual price of it? What's going to happen when it becomes rare? It's like, can anybody get it? I need some XRP. I'm jonesing for XRP. I can't get it anymore. Well, ultimately what ended up happening, there will be a fine levied here, right? But they're going to levy a fine against Ripple based on no clarity. It's kind of like, an attorney coming at you for a business thing. They're exactly what they're doing, coming at them and saying, you're in trouble for doing this. Well, what did I do? Well, you violated the Howie test. You sold an unregistered security. If you had only registered it with the SEC, blah, 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 right? Okay, so they're making that assertion. But again, there's no clarity, because the digital asset space, very different going back than what we had with the Howie test, right? An orange grow, very simple times. So it's not always, it's the same thing. Let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, so Frank is McGillicuddy's also, getting in on the CC, and JP Morgan just paid almost $1 billion fine for manipulating metals for decades. But wait, I bet they turned over a new leaf and they're all above board now, right? Yeah, well, not only that, but if you remember the drug ship, the drug running ship that they had, there was some kind of a, they just keep getting in trouble and nobody knew anything, and they've been manipulating all kinds of market for a long time. And so, yeah, that's a very good point, Frank. I mean, an excellent point. So Texas Crypto says, hey, maybe Ripple used XRP as a security in the early stages, but XRP we rated as a currency now. Ripple pays a fine. We have the currency status moving forward. Yeah, there's going to be some kind of a fine levied and stuff. But again, what the bigger issue here is that this isn't about Ripple. This is about the whole altcoin market. So if you're fortunate enough to be Bitcoin, Ether, and everything position 3 down to 5,000, whatever, 6,000, how many digital assets there are with projects, they're all quaking in their boots. Why? Because they know that this affects them. So what I believe is gonna end up happening is that this will be the landmark precedent that will propel and blast off the moonshot. Because what happens when the day they say, even if this ends up going up to another court, or you've already had Supreme Court. Crypto Eddie did a great video where she went through and looked at the SEC going to Supreme Court and losing 2 out of 3 cases. They don't have a great track record, and they're trying to allege here, especially if you look at initial, your ICOs, right? Your initial coin offerings. A coin offering has nothing to do with this case right here, right? So if you look at Kick, and they were fined $5 million, drop in the bucket. And remember, they went hard. They came hard at SEC. We're going to sue everybody. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to fight this to the end, started pounding their chests. Not a great idea, but the problem with the initial coin offering with Kick and the Kin token, the problem they had there was go ahead and selling a coin, not working with regulators, working outside the system. Yeah, it's pretty open and shut case. This is not open and shut case, but all of the facts are on Ripple's side in this circumstance. Let's see what else we have here. So Sir John says, or if XRP is ruled a security, Ripple can issue a new digital asset and continue working with it, mirror the ledger, and voila. Well, I mean, they could, but I don't think we're going to actually get to that case. That scenario, they don't have to. Look, if you start deeming these are all securities, now we're going to overregulate this stuff, you're killing innovation, you're crushing everything here. And, basically what you're doing is like, okay, it's a security. It doesn't matter. Ripple's not going to go out. Ripple moves outside the U.S. They move to any one of their prime choices they wanted to go. And how does that help innovation in the U.S.? And how does that help the market in what's happening with the United States? It doesn't. It does exactly the opposite. Apex Crypto. Charles H. From Cardano says that if XRP was deemed a security in early days because of distribution and centrality, every crypto is similar, including BTC. And that's Charles Hodgkins from the founder, CEO of Cardano. And that's a good point too, although I don't necessarily know about Bitcoin. Ether is a little bit different, but on the case of when we're looking at Bitcoin, remember, Bitcoin is totally decentralized. There's no company behind it. There's no people behind it. Who are you going to go after, right? So Bitcoin, the way the market moved there, I think Bitcoin's never going to be, would always be exempt from that because there is no company. There's nobody personally benefiting. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Nobody knows, right? I mean, there's some early days with some big investors, but no, it's not the same. Let's look at this one. So failure, wow, that's a lot. XRP Derivatives said they're not going to delist XRP. They will stop trading and buying. Eventually, that will have to be done to do a price set. Then they'll do a buyback from retail investors at some point. This has been this is another sort of that's been alleged here too, that there will be some sort of a buyback, right? Some sort of a buyback will happen. They'll come back. They'll have some sort of a buyback, and what will end up happening is they'll take the money. I don't see that happening either. I think this is going to be very, very clear on the fact that they misconstrued. They have some mistruths in here. The SEC's coming at it. They're missing some stuff, cherry picking, if you will, and the whole idea of saying that XRP is a security. even if they did deem it and say, well, early days, that's going to be a fine. They'll slap a fine on them. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, bump, bump, bump. And then what you have is a landmark case which sets a precedent for the entire industry. So there's a lot riding on this. This goes way, way beyond. And Charles Hodgkinson is exactly right when he says that the whole crypto industry has something at stake here, right? So Apex says, right, Charles' point was XRP is not a security. He has 3 videos already. Highly recommend that everyone watch. I actually watched one of them. I started watching one anyway. But it's not a security. And I think that when we look at this, we're going to see, we're going to find out real soon that it has nothing to, and there's just not going to happen here. So Stephen Kurtz says, hey, Mullet, I'm still buying XRP and others, sitting back and waiting. I have time to be stupid rich. See you on the moon. I'll see you on the moon. When moon? So yeah, when you look at the merits of this case and you look at where Ripple is, I think one of the things that, let me pull this up. So I wanted to hit a couple other points. We doing on time here, man. We're already an hour into it. So yeah, we'll go a little bit longer here, but I wanted to. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much to go into. I just barely started cracking into some of the things. So we're gonna have to spread this out a little bit and continue this breakdown one. We'll start going through it, coming back, getting your comments on it. And finding out, again, we're doing a live stream tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, which is New York time, Miami time, which is where we're based. And you can come in and we're gonna talk a little bit about this. We're also going to talk about Flare, Spark Token. I did see a fantastic tweet. I hope I can pull it up. But Hugh Filion had a fantastic tweet. It was one of my favorite tweets of the week. And I'm wondering if I can actually pull that puppy up. So what I'm trying to do here now, let me look through while we're going here. But what we'll do is we're going to have to start doing more of these, only because there's a lot to chat about here. There's a lot of breakdown here. We can't, we're not going to be able to actually, where is it? Flare. Can I talk and do this at the same time? I possibly could. Right. We'll start breaking this down. So here we go. Check this out. News. So we got Chubbsley 2000 says news is affecting the price. Exchanges delisting XRP is affecting the price more than anything right now. So really, not much anyone can do but look long term. Yeah, and I think a lot of the people in the space too, unless you're like a day trader, and that takes a certain capability that you're looking at moving stuff and you're day trading, cryptocurrency, which people do, and they do it very successfully, and they're good at reading charts. I think this was almost always. And we have Atul Dawan says, I will hold like do or die, ride or die. There you go. I like that. That's the spirit right there, Atul. Very nice. Well said. Put your ZERPs. Edward Benson reminds everybody to put your ZERPs where you have the private key. Jaron Brown says, hey, I was thinking about taking half my XRP and putting it into Bitcoin until the smoke clears, and trying to get back in is a little risky, but I don't know. What do you think? Look, I mean, that's a personal decision. A lot of it has to do with, where do you think, again, this could be a long-term move, but the potential there, I'll give you a couple different ways to look at this. And again, I'm not going with any one of them, and I'm not giving financial advice, but take a look at it this way. So we saw that all-time high of 25,000 being eclipsed, right? Now, if we were doing a live stream, we were talking about this, let's say 3 months ago, you'd be like, I don't know, man, maybe, you're one of these crazy moon boys saying this, but what happens when it hits, what if it hits 50,000? What if it hits 100,000? Do I believe it'll happen? I do believe. What is the timing on that? No clue. But it's rare. It's going to get rarer as more is mined. But there's other potential issues that could happen with Bitcoin. So you had the DNI from the United States already advising with issues with Bitcoin happening. He's the person that runs all of the agencies, all the 3-letter agencies, FBI. He's the director of national intelligence, and there's already been some allegations made because so much of it is done in China, because it's not necessarily controlled, but they have the power, the machines, the wherewithal to basically be mining Bitcoin, right? So there's a lot of concern over that security stuff. U.S. Now, will other countries start looking at that? They might, right? We've heard hints and bits and pieces of this come out from other countries. Great Britain, for example. There is a concern that this is happening in a country like China, and also Ether could also be looked at as that potential, but I don't think that's going to be as prevalent. So Mama Lacey says downturn will separate the wheat from the chaff. 1, protect our people. 2, press our advantage, but be prudent. 3, ruthless prioritization and focus. BG, Brad Garlinghouse, I'm thinking she says there, SEC versus Ripple. And the winner is XRP. Well, the real winner is going to be the altcoin marketplace. That's who the real winner is going to be. Altcoin is going to celebrate. Everyone's going to be thankful for this. And you know what this is going to do? Can you imagine what this is going to do? The funny part about this, when this came out, I'm talking to people who kind of know a little bit that I'm into this, and they're saying, hey, by the way, did you see this? The SEC is suing Ripple. Isn't that the coin you're into? And blah, blah, blah. What did it do? It put it on the top of the news cycle. And what's going to happen? It's going to continue to stay on the top of the news cycle. What's going to happen when this thing is settled? Boom. Can you imagine the day where it's alleged, slap on the wrist, pay the fine, and guess what ends up happening? Simple. They come out and they say, okay, boom, it's not a security. Boom, game on, as you were. Don't pay no mind. What do you think is going to happen to the institutional marketplace? What do you think is going to happen when you see all of these companies putting in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars? This is it will be on sale, right? So, and this is pure speculation on my part. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it certainly makes sense that if you get clarity on something and it's priced pretty low, even if it's $1, $2, $3, $2, $3, 25,000 plus Bitcoin. How much? If I put 25,000 into it and it doubles and I can make 50,000, or what if I put 25,000 in and it 10, 15, 20, 100 X's? You can certainly make a lot more money with a lot less. And I've always said since day one, Bitcoin has always been a phenomenal opportunity. Everybody should own Bitcoin. I think it's going to continue to rise. It's continue to be there. Yeah, Michael O2 says, hey, Stellar is killing it in Africa. Job sorted. These regs are going to launch the whole space. Chip is 100% correct. Well, we shall see if I am correct, but I do believe that this is going to be the impetus that will set the landmark ruling. That will be heard. This will be the shot heard around the world, and that is going to move quickly. And then I don't imagine they get the clarity on this thing, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, XRP still stuck at, and then you insert the date of the price there. No, man. This is going to go through the roof. It has to. You get clarity and people are going to go buy in. Why? Because, guess what? Investors like to make money. It's why we invest in this marketplace, right? So we have none of your business here says XRP might go to $1 and back down to 20 cents again. Yeah, it might go down to 0.00005 again. There's a lot of things that could happen. It might go to 0. Who knows, right? Main concern I have, this is Viznar Alishi says, hey, the main concern I have isn't if XRP is going to be deemed a security by the SEC. I believe XRP is not a security. The biggest issue I have is the CEO and co-founder own over half of the XRP tokens. I'm not sure why that's a concern to you. I mean, you'd have to, I would say, elaborate on that point, because there's a lot of different ways with that concern, maybe about price or other potential issues. So I don't know what might happen there. And we've got G says, hey, I don't think this will launch the whole space, just to launch cryptos that have been working with regulators, which is very few. Yeah, it's true. It may not launch the whole space, but it will give it the clarity that it needs, right? So now you have a framework to, and I agree with that, G. I think that's a good point. But the clarity that's necessary to go through with this, that's certainly going to be part of this, right? And Apex says, Apex Crypto, Ripple will easily double with the banks in the next 12 months once this case is settled. Screenshot this. Yeah, highly agree with that, because a lot of people have been sitting on the sidelines waiting to get in. And also, what will that do for the marketplace in general? Because, I mean, you have these financial institutions now that do not want to, that don't want to go in, right? They're a little bit nervous right now about going in 100% because there's a lot of risk here. There's a lot of potential things that could happen. I am looking for something, and it's always funny. I had this thing up earlier, and what happened to it? Do not know. Huh. Well, anyway, Hugh Filion, who is the founder of Flare Networks, put out a tweet something like, "We just got here. We're not going anywhere." I love that. I mean, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact tweet. If you guys can find it, throw it down there. I'll put it up for you guys. But I love that. Again, you got people like, setting up, digging in the sand. Hey, we're not going anywhere. We've been here for a long time. Don't call it a comeback because we've been here for years, right? And I do officially feel that that's where we are headed. There's so much more that I really wanted to get into. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to get into it, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to be back here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. I know it's going to be late for a lot of you, but we'll try to do more of these daytime streams. XRP Chance, thank you for asking about my mom. She's back at home. She was here for Christmas. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, guys. Really appreciate all the prayers and concerns about that. And I believe prayer is powerful, man. I believe it can move mountains, and I believe that it did. Which I will talk about another. I'll maybe throw another tweet out there to kind of talk about that. But thank you very much, XRP Chance. Appreciate that. Moo Lambo saying, hey, by the way, if everyone here is expecting XRP to be $10 in 2021, I suggest you sell and leave. This will not move for a while. This isn't a get-rich scheme. If you hodl, then you hodl and will be rewarded. So that's also a good point too. The expectations can get you in a lot of trouble, right? The tomorrow moon, and you can consume a lot of content that looks like it's going to be 100, 300, 4,000, 10,000, right? There's a lot of this speculation. But look, I mean, bottom line is hodl, hold long term. That's why you get into it. If you're trying to go ahead and get rich quick, I don't suggest that crypto is really for you at all. And I think Moon Lambo, that's a very good point you're bringing up there, that we have to sort of look at that. And I don't know what that is, but it looks interesting. What is that? Thank you. Oh, thank you. Gotcha. Bitcoin, a bunch of little graphs there, charts. Okay, I see what it is now. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily show up here the way I'd like to see it. Just like BTC to 1 million, it says when mullet. Yeah, just like that. But hey, could it go there? Yeah. I mean, it potentially could go there. I mean, yeah, Bo says he likes the daytime, the lunchtime better. Yeah, I thank you, Bo. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to do that a little bit more. I got a little bit of downtime coming up, so does Jeff. So I think we're going to jump in this a little bit more. We'll try to hit on a time that really works with everybody. Thank you, Stephen Kurt. It says Merry Christmas. There you go. Thank you. We had a great Christmas. Looking forward to the new year. But we will definitely jump in and we'll do more of this stuff. Let's workshop this together. Let's go through it. I always love the comments you guys have. Please like, subscribe on the bottom over there because, we have a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up. You don't want to miss it. You're going to get the alert. Got to click that little bell and go subscribe to our other channel. There's also a link to that. There's On the Chain and there's On the Chain Live. On the Chain is where we upload videos, shorter little videos, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, something you can consume very quickly. David, thank you, David. Appreciate that super chat, man. Let me go ahead and put that up here. Hang on a second. I saw that pop in there. That's a super sticker. David Maturo, sorry, the Maturu. Thank you very much for that $2.99. I appreciate your support of the channel. Guys, the best way you can support the channel, we always appreciate super chats and appreciate your comments. The best way to support us is to share us. Tell your friends about us. Put tweets out. That's the best way. Sharing this with other people helps us get the word out, helps bring more people in here. Jeff's making a good comment here. I'm getting very dangerously close to DNI territory. That's the digital nomad investor, and he holds the record, right? That's where I've gone to bed at let's say 10 o'clock at night. I woke at 7 in the morning, and he's still streaming. I'm like, oh, he started a new stream. No, it's the same stream. So yeah, Jeff, thanks for that. And Jeff and I, who is my co-host for On the Chain Roundtable, we will be Channing Smithson will be on with us tomorrow. We're going to go through this again, man. We're going to highlight your comments. We're going to go through it. We're going to talk. Apex says, what up, Jeff? How are you doing? And we're going to go through it. So guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate your contribution. What makes this fun to do is the fact that you guys come in here. We all get to do this together. And that's all I got. And I'll see you on the next one. Like, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. See you tomorrow night. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.
You guys thought I was going, didn't you? Oh no, we're cranking up another 3 hours. No, I really wanted to just I just wanted to recognize Alex D Vlogs, which he's another phenomenal YouTuber out there. And again, he doesn't have the subs he deserves. He deserves to be in the 10, 15, 20,000 range. So please, he says, I don't care. I'm giving you a super chat. Let's go XRP. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I didn't want that to go unnoticed because I always really appreciate it when you guys go ahead and, you know, contribute to the channel. So I had to come back. I had to do that. And I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate that. We've had Alex on the show. You can watch that show, go back into the history, and you can check that out as well. So guess what? Round 2, chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.